This is Supply House Times editor Mike Miazga here at the H.E.S. Club in Houston at the PVF Roundtable, the final one for 2012. Joined right now by former Shell CEO John Hofmeister. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Great speech earlier tonight. The crux of it, we got a little bit of a problem with the leadership overall in this country. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Well, I think the 21st century is very different than the 20th century, and whether it's corporate leadership, government leadership, institutional leadership, institutions ranging from universities to churches, I think we have an inadequate leadership model guiding our leaders today where they're not up to the task. CEO tenure is shrinking. We have enormous disrespect for our elected officials across the country because we're holding them accountable and they don't want to be accountable. We have lots of leadership problems in institutions today. So rather than just complain about leaders, how about offering them a leadership alternative, a framework, a model for the 21st century with all the complexities, the degrees of difficulty that we face in this century that are different now than the last century. And so whether it's the values and behaviors link up that leaders have to demonstrate, whether it is having sufficiently well-developed, let me call it cognitive capacity, and the ability to manage all kinds of variables simultaneously, whether it's the disconnect that they may have with their emotional balance, with their physical, with their spiritual, with their mental balance, whether it's the ability to really get in the how would I just say it best, in the whole realm of understanding context, the difficult context that we live in today, where their lens is not straight line, but it's a wide-angled lens, so they can take the whole complexity of context into consideration. These are things which I think have to be thought about simultaneously. I use the word coherence, and so my next book will be The Coherent Leader. And coherence is about putting it all together that in this century is important and right for this century, not relying upon a leadership model from 25, 30, or 50 years ago. And I don't see a lot of it. There's some of it out there. We have some really great leaders at different parts of society. Not enough. Just plain not enough. And when we see leaders of firms willing to take other people's money and spend it like it's their own, or when we see leaders not providing the kind of stability, continuity, respect for people, respect for society, and just worry about profits and their paycheck, there's something wrong with that. Or we have government leaders who only think about the next election, and they manage their whole agenda for the next election instead of managing their agenda for the American people. There's something deadly wrong about that in this day and age. We need leaders who think about the long term, the medium term, and the short term simultaneously. And I think we're just falling short.
You know, you alluded to the book that you have coming out, 7 steps you presented here tonight. Can you kind of give a little bit of an abridged version on those steps necessary to correct this problem?
Well, it goes, as I was saying, about values and behavior, about context, about balancing their emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, about the cognitive capacity, the time span of horizon, the relationship orientation that they have, all of which are important. And ultimately it gets to, much like an athlete, the flow, the incredible feeling that an athlete has at the peak of their ability to keep going and going and going, like the ever-ready bunny. A leader has to have that kind of stamina, that kind of outlook as well. So all those things combine, and the way I describe it in my book is they're all synchronized with each other. They're all integrated, and the coherent leader shares in all of those capabilities.
One of your big passions, Citizens for Affordable Energy. For some of our readers and folks that are watching on this website, can you kind of give a little bit of an overview of that?
Citizens for Affordable Energy is really a grassroots education organization. We exist as a not-for-profit. We're nonpartisan, non-political. Our number one priority is to help everyday Americans understand the reality of the energy and environmental challenges that we have as a nation. We have been living off a legacy for too long. We have been promising ourselves, whether we call it energy independence, I call it energy availability. We have been promising ourselves energy availability while we're rationing energy to ourselves. We're rationing the ability, meaning we're not developing enough of America's domestic natural resources for our energy future which has implications for cost of energy, availability of energy, and ultimately sustainability of our future of energy. And so Citizens for Affordable Energy talks with people at all levels of society. We have ambassadors in many states who try to get the message out, because there's not enough of me to get the message out. So our goal is for free, pro bono. We don't pay salaries. We don't have any offices. We're a completely virtual organization of volunteers. But these are people who commit their time and their personal their self-energy to try to explain things to people that don't fully understand it. It's not that complex, but many people know nothing, or virtually nothing, about energy issues this nation faces. And we could find ourselves not just sliding down the slippery slope of fiscal irresponsibility, we could be sliding down the slippery slope of an energy abyss and not having enough domestic energy to take care of our own needs, and then shame on us.
A lot of great stuff here tonight. John, we appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
For more on the PVF Roundtable, read the December issue of Supply House Times.